Good evening. My name is Tatiana Garrett, and I'm Director of Community Outreach for the Anti-Cruelty Society. For 111 years, the Anti-Cruelty Society has provided an open door for Chicago's neediest animals. Our mission of building a community of caring by helping pets and educating people is evident in all of our programs and services. Tonight, we'll be discussing our Cruelty and Neglect Investigation and Rescue Department at the Anti-Cruelty Society on this live interactive call-in television program brought to you on TV21. We invite you to call in with your questions at 312-738-1060. Our phone lines are now open. My guest today is Nicole Campos.
Hi.
Hello. She is Manager of Field Services at the Anti-Cruelty Society. Hi, Nicole. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Great. Well, can you tell us a little bit, first of all, just an overview of what Field Services is? What does the department do at the Anti-Cruelty Society?
Sure. The Field Services Department, we do a couple different things. Field service refers to anything that we do out in the community, whether it be picking up an animal from a private owner. We also investigate cruelty and neglect cases, as well as do transfers to and from other organizations or rescue partners.
Great. Tell us a little bit about the volume that your department deals with. About how many calls do you receive every day, and transfers, things like that?
On a daily basis, I would say we probably receive anywhere from 20 to 40 calls, depending on the time of year, depending on kind of what we have going on. It really just depends. Transfers we do at least daily.
Okay.
By law, we have to take any strays that we pick up either in the field or that come into our shelter to Animal Care and Control of Chicago.
Okay.
We'll also transfer to other rescue organizations. If we have any, kind of special cases that would do better at a private organization, we'll take in animals. So that's all. The transporting is the field service. We're responsible for those things.
Great. And again, if you're just tuning in, my name is Tatiana Garrett, and I'm Director of Community Outreach for the Anti-Cruelty Society. You are watching a live interactive call-in television program brought to you on TV21. If you have any questions for the Anti-Cruelty Society and our Field Services Humane Investigations Department, give us a call at 312-738-1060. Give us a call with any of those questions that you may have. So, Nicole, tell us a little bit about the relationship with Animal Care and Control, what it is that they do, and how we work together how they work together with the Anti-Cruelty Society.
Okay, we have a really good relationship with Animal Care and Control. We work together on a daily basis, like I said. By law, we're not able to we can accept them, but we can't house them or keep any stray animals. Just in case an owner is looking for their animal, they need to go to one place where they know that they can, look for their animal, reclaim their animal. That's through the city of Chicago. But aside from that, we will, any animals we'll take from them if they're overcrowded. If we have extra space, we'll go there and take some of their adoptable animals and place them at our facility for adoption.
Which makes sense. You can imagine all of the animal shelters and veterinary clinics and places like that. And if you were an owner who had lost your pet, and you had to call everyone, it would be pretty daunting. So that's great that there is that policy. So all strays or any loose animals that people find would go to Animal Care and Control. And then to tell us a little bit about how that process works then. So there's a stray hold so that the owners can find them. And then what happens? How does the Anti-Cruelty Society become involved?
It really depends. Like I said, any stray animal or animal we find running, or also abandoned animals are technically considered strays because they don't have an owner that legally signed any paperwork or legally gave them up. So what'll happen is typically if an animal comes into anti-cruelty, or if we pick up a stray in the field, we'll bring them to Animal Care and Control. They'll get checked in, they'll get processed. Based on, technically there's a 5-day stray hold. If the animal does have a microchip or any kind of tags, that is extended because it does. Right. We know they do have an owner out there and they make every effort to contact them. But if it's a standard stray hold, there's a lot of times that we will go back and pick up the animal after the 5-day stray hold and place them up for adoption at the Anti-Cruelty Society.
Great. Tell everyone a little bit about microchips. There's a lot of misconceptions out there. Some people think they're like LoJack for your pet, where if you have a dog or cat, you give them a microchip, and then if they get lost, they find their way home.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's not the case. The microchip is only as good as the owner, I guess I would say. If you change your phone number, if you move addresses, you have to call and update the microchip. Unfortunately, we do find that a lot of people, good intentions, they microchip their pet, and then they move or they change their phone number. And when we try to contact them, we're not able to get a hold of them because the number is disconnected.
Right.
So they're great to do. They have to be scanned. Any vet's office, animal shelter, things like that will have a microchip scanner. And they're universal. You can call and get the information and contact the owner. So they're great to have.
And so physically the way they would work is there's a little microchip. It's about the size of the tip of a
grain of
sharpened
rice.
pencil. Yeah, a grain of rice. Injected underneath the skin, but the animal has to be found. So to clarify a little bit, you can be a great pet owner, and you definitely, if you have a dog or cat, you want to make sure they are microchipped.
Sure.
And even if you've done everything, maybe someone you have walking your dog while you're away,
it happens.
accidentally lets them out,
It happens.
But it's important to note that the animal has to be found and be brought into either Animal Care and Control, the Anti-Cruelty Society, or another facility like that. And then it's read with like a little bit of a scanner, and a number comes up on a computer then, and then the person has to be called. So that's why it's very important, if you do have a microchip pet, that you make sure that you, keep your contact information up to date with them.
Right. I mean, it's just an added security. Like, you have a collar with tags, but as we know, tags fall off or collars get lost, and that's something that'll never, get lost. It is permanently embedded under the skin of the animal. So it's a great identification.
Wonderful. So going back to the relationship then with the Anti-Cruelty Society and Animal Care and Control, you talked a little bit about people with strays having to go there. But tell us a little bit more about the relationship there. So why do we go and transfer animals to us from them? You mentioned if we find strays, we bring them to Animal Care and Control, but the other way works too. We go there every day. Tell us a little bit about that.
Right. We do go there. We're trying to get there every day. We usually go there at least once a day with strays, and then we'll pick up some animals as well. And the relationship there is, an adopted animal is an adopted animal. And if we can help them out or they can help us out, we're doing the same thing. We're serving the same purpose.
Yeah.
So if we have some extra space and, they're at capacity, we'll go and we'll help them out and take some animals there. And it really does help, help the numbers, help euthanasia rate in Chicago. Because like I said, if we can place an animal or they can place an animal, it's good outcome.
There's a lot of people in Chicago who really care about animals that are really working together, and we definitely work together with Animal Care and Control for that. And based on our location, a lot of people know where the Anti-Cruelty Society is, down at LaSalle and Grand. And if you would like any more information on the Anti-Cruelty Society, give us a call at 312-644-8338, or go to our website at www.anticruelty.org, and you can find all of our information there as well, and also call in with any questions. My name is Tatiana Garrett. I'm Director of Community Outreach for the Anti-Cruelty Society, and you are watching a live interactive call-in television program brought to you on CAN TV21. Give us a call with any of your questions at 312-738-1060. We invite you to call in with your questions for Nicole Campos, our Manager of Field Services. So tell me a little bit about some of the typical calls that you get, cruelty and neglect calls, things like that.
We do get a variety of different calls. We get, like you said, our field service where we will go out to a person's home and pick up an animal that they can no longer care for a variety of different reasons, moving, financial reasons. Sometimes things happen and they're not able to get down to the shelter. So we'll provide that alternative for them. We'll call and schedule an appointment and go out there. Like I said, we do some transfers with rescue groups. And then we also, majority of what we do on a daily basis is cruelty and neglect investigations. All of our investigators are licensed by the Illinois Department of Agriculture to enforce the Humane Care for Animals Act. And kind of in a nutshell, which I'm sure we'll go deeper into. It's basically food, water, shelter, and humane pet care, vet care if the animal requires it. So that's a lot of what we do, making sure that the owners are in compliance with that Humane Care for Animal Act.
Tell us a little bit about the certification for the humane investigators. You mentioned it's with Department of Agriculture. Is there a test they have to take? Is it just buying a license? How does that work?
They do have to test. They do have to go down to Springfield. They go through a training class.
Great.
And they do have to pass the exam. And they do have to get that updated as well. They have to pass that. It's not just a one-time thing. They have to go back, I believe it's annually, and get that recertification, retest, and get their credentials updated.
So aside from that test, is there also if someone out there might be interested in becoming a field services investigator someday, is there an area of focus in education or something like that you would recommend?
It's really hard to say. There is no clear cut. We get a lot of calls asking, what do I need to do? There's no, for our organization, obviously I can only speak on.
Right.
Other organizations may have different qualifications. For us, it's just generally first and foremost have a passion for animals and animal welfare and, want to help animals. We have a variety.
A prerequisite of hiring for the Anti-Cruelty Society. Yeah.
We have, our investigators have a diverse background. They really do. I have a background in criminal justice. I've worked in animal welfare, so that, is something that you can pursue. But like I said, everybody brings unique talents to the department, and there's no one thing I can say that you need to have.
So you were just talking a little bit before about some of the calls and things that would come in based on cruelty and neglect. So can you tell us a little bit about some of those specific calls, and also maybe a little bit about if they're a little bit different this time of year, being winter?
They are. We see an influx of calls during the winter time when it's really cold outside, a lot of snow, as well as in the summer when it really heats up and it's really hot outside. I would say, I don't have the exact stats in front of me, but I would probably say most of our calls are animals that are left outside, concerned citizens calling the animals are left outside in extreme temperature, without proper shelter, without access to food and water at all times. And those are I would say, mostly the calls that we get. We do get some, abuse calls where animals are, there's evidence they're being mistreated. Things of that nature. Animals tied up, anything along those lines will go out. And we also get rescue calls. We just got a cat out of a tree yesterday on the south side.
I saw you leaving with the net to go help
the cat. Yeah. He was happy before, not really happy during, but definitely happy after when he got a warm bed and a nice meal that he hadn't had since Friday.
That's great. And if you have any questions on any of our programs, or if you actually wanted to call our field services department, go ahead and call in at 312-644-8338, or you can go to our website at www.anticruelty.org. My name is Tatiana Garrett, and I'm Director of Community Outreach for the Anti-Cruelty Society. You are watching a live interactive call-in television program brought to you by TV21. If you have any questions for Nicole Campos, our Manager of Field Services, give us a call at 312-738-1060. If you're curious about what any of the different laws are or anything like that, you can just give us a call. So, what are some suggestions for people in the wintertime, for your pet care?
Well, according to the law, it's food, water, shelter, and humane care. There's nothing wrong. We get that from people that, the dog's outside. By law, there's nothing wrong with keeping your dog outside if the dog is used to being outside, if the dog is properly cared for.
And they'd have to have a dog house. They have to have some sort of
absolutely.
shelter.
And that's in any type of weather. It's not just the winter time or the summer. The law states that animals have to have shelter at all times. And the minimum requirements for shelter are, it needs to be raised at least 6 inches off the ground.
Okay.
It needs to be covered on 3 sides with a roof. And it needs to have some kind of flap that covers the door, whether it be a plastic flap. Canvas works very well if people are making their own. And it has to have a bedding. Approved bedding by the Department of Agriculture is straw or hay or wood chips. But obviously a nice warm, dry blanket would be okay too, as long as it's not damp.
Great. And tell us about water too, because the law does mandate that they have access to water all the time, and it's Chicago winter, things freeze. So how do people address that?
We get that a lot from people saying, well, I just put the water out there and it's frozen. And, unfortunately it is the winter, and that happens. Just in the summer, water gets hot and if you're hot, the last thing you want to do is drink a nice hot glass of water.
Right.
So it is the responsibility of the owner to either make sure about every hour, hour and a half, that water needs to be changed. Or there are heated water bowls that you can get at most pet stores, as well as other, larger retailers that actually plug in and they're heated.
Right.
So it keeps the water from freezing. And there's also ones in the summertime that keep the water cool. So it's there's a lot of really neat things out there that you can get to make life easier for you and the dog.
So the message from Field Services is that if you want to keep your dog outside, you have to do these things to, at least at the very bare minimum, abide by the law. But going beyond that, of course, from the Anti-Cruelty Society, we want to see animals placed in loving forever homes, and we hope that everyone really cares for their animals and treats them as a member of the family. So, just some advice beyond the bare minimum. If you have a pet and you love your dog or cat, what are some of the things that they have to be extra careful about in the wintertime?
I would basically say anytime that, like I said, with the outside thing, the one thing I did want to add is that animals in the wintertime, especially when left outside for long periods of time, need to up their calories. They need to be fed more often. They need a higher fat content in their diet. Just like any other animal, they need to kind of bulk up for the wintertime and trim down in the summer.
As us mammals do.
We do. And that's not unique to dogs and cats. And that same goes, all these things go for cats as well. Cats need to have shelter as well, and food and water. But aside from, like I said, animals should be a member of your family. And, they're companion animals, and they thrive on companionship, and they're very social. So, just if you are leaving your pet outside and it's used to that, just make sure you interact with them and allow them in the house sometimes to interact with the family, and because that's really important too.
Maybe also being careful in the wintertime too. A lot of people put salt down places.
Yes.
If you do take your dog out for walks, when you come back inside, our family would always leave a rag by the door that to wipe out the salt and things like that get between paws, because the only way the dogs really have to clean that out is with their teeth, and then they end up ingesting that. And a lot of what's put down isn't even actually salt; it's chemicals. And so we want to make sure we protect our pets from chemicals and things like that they would encounter outdoors. Very important.
If you're taking your pet for a walk, just be cautious of where you're walking. Ice can also cut the pads of the dog's feet. And like I said, just, that's a really good idea is when you come in the house, make sure you just wipe the feet, because they do get, especially longer coated breeds of dogs, they get the ice that gets in between the pads of their feet, and it's, as you can imagine, it's like little ice cubes that are probably pretty uncomfortable to walk on. So
to have ice stuck between your toes isn't too comfortable.
Salt gets stuck in there, and it's just, just be cautious that you're checking the pads of the feet for any abrasions or cuts, because, if they get cut and then the salt and the chemicals get in there, it's very painful for the dog.
Right, I can imagine. My name is Tatiana Garrett. I'm Director of Community Outreach for the Anti-Cruelty Society. You're watching a live interactive call-in television program brought to you on CAN TV21. If you have any questions for our Field Services Department, give us a call at 312-738-1060. So, Nicole, tell us a little bit about what you would suggest for someone if they suspect an animal is being abused.
Well, the first thing I would say is definitely give us a call. We're always here. We work 7 days a week, so somebody is always available. We'll go out on every call that comes in. It's based on, obviously, severity is when we get out there. But yeah, definitely give us a call. Give us a call at the Anti-Cruelty Society. You can also
send us. And that number is 312-644-8338, or you can go to our website, www.anticruelty.org.
We would just ask that you provide the location of the animal, what's being observed, what kind of cruelty or neglect you feel is taking place. Like I said, the location of the animal, if they're in the city of Chicago, if you leave street, avenue, south, west, east, just so we know where we're going. And like I said, a description of the animal, a description of the complaint, if it's a suburb, where that suburb is, and what suburb it is. And also all calls, I want to just state that everything is anonymous. Your information is never given out. So if you could please provide your name and phone number, it really is helpful if we are in the field and we can't locate the animal, or if we need to ask them additional questions. And also we will follow up with the person that calls and let them know what the outcome was. So it's just peace of mind as well.
And just to stress that too, so since if you were to call, and we do have several investigators, they're out in the field all day, and even though as manager you're in the office sometimes, but you go out in the field as well, and we get a lot of calls. So if you were to call, a lot of times you would get a voice recording. So you want to make sure you're leaving as much of that information as possible, but there might be something that you thought you included or a piece of information. I know oftentimes you hear investigators out on a call and they aren't finding the right house, things like that. We can call and then get that clarification. So even though, of course, the tip would stay anonymous, we would never let that other person know who would call, but just for that clarification, it's very, very important.
It is very helpful. It is very helpful. And like you said, with the phone calls, we do get a high volume of calls, especially in the warm months and the cold months. But I just, do want to let people know that we do check the voicemail numerous times a day. And all calls are returned within a 24-hour period or sooner.
Wonderful. So if you are suspecting any abuse or have any questions or want any more information from the Anti-Cruelty Society, go ahead and give us a call, 312-644-8338, or go to our website, www.anticruelty.org. So what if somebody has actually seen something? What sort of suggestion would you offer then?
Still give us a call, let us know all the information. Unfortunately, it's like many other things like law enforcement or anything else like that. We'll go out there and take a look, but if we can't see with our own eyes what's going on, it's very hard to enforce any laws. However, we've noticed that a lot of it is education. Even if we can go out there and we don't see the actual cruelty or abuse going on at that particular moment, it may be just a matter of making contact with the owner and speaking to them about their pets and, finding out if they have questions or if they need to be educated a little bit on, proper care and treatment of companion animals and things like that. So it definitely is worth it to give us a call and let us know. It doesn't hurt to go out there and just check it out and see what's going on.
And if you were to ever witness, let's say a dog fight or something like that was in progress, you knew it was happening, then in those instances, you definitely want to call 911.
Absolutely.
Dog fights it's a felony offense, and police will dispatch to those locations and make sure that everything is taken care of for that. Now, there is something recently that just happened with a new law passed in Cook County. Can you tell us a little bit about the tethering law that was passed?
Absolutely. That was just passed. We're very excited about it. The new tethering law states that while you can leave your dog tethered...
And explain what tethering means if someone's not familiar with that term.
Tether is, a leashing to a post or a tie out or any kind of, I guess I would say, restraint that keeps an animal from going.
Right. So they're usually by their collar tied with a rope or a long chain or something like that to something, whether it be a tree, a post, stake, anything like that.
Right.
So tying an animal out. Okay.
So what the new law that just passed states is that an animal has to be a minimum of a 10-foot tie out. It cannot be a heavy chain. It has to be a specific animal approved tie out device. One that you can get from your local, like I said, just local stores, pet stores. Has to be an approved tie out. So
and chains can, if an animal is moving around a lot, they can bind up on themselves.
Right.
So what you left as a 10-foot chain can instantly end up choking or hurting an animal too.
Right. And a lot of people use the very heavy, bulky chains to prevent the animal from breaking free. However, those aren't approved tethering devices for animals. So it needs to be, like I said, an approved tie out. It has to be 10 feet, and it has to be attached to a regulation collar, whether it be a nylon collar, a buckle collar, a martingale collar, any kind of regular animal collar. It cannot be a choke chain. It cannot be a prong collar or anything like that.
Okay. Interesting.
And it has to be, like I said, it has to be 10 feet, and it has to be... it can't be within dogs cannot be tethered within 200 yards of a school as well. So that's another interesting.
Great law that we're very happy just was recently passed in Chicago. So I'm sorry to say that we have to close our phone lines at this time, so no more calls, please. I'm Tatiana Garrett, and I'm the Director of Community Outreach for the Anti-Cruelty Society. Thank you for joining us this evening on CAN TV 21. To learn more about the Anti-Cruelty Society and learn how you can support all the great work that we do, you can visit us at www.anticruelty.org or give us a call at 312-644-8338. I'd also like to thank my guest, Nicole Campos, for joining us today. Join us again next week when we have another guest, and you will be discussing more of the great programs and services that the Anti-Cruelty Society offers. Please stay tuned for the next program, which will follow in 5 minutes. Thank you for watching.